Okay, good morning, everybody. This is John Haller. I'm with my good friends Brian Schrauger from Israel and Mark Sutherland from the UK. Mark and I just did a program the other day where we need to talk about Israel and Iran. So here we are. As you know, there was dramatic events overnight. Uh, Israel attacked Iran in just a stunning operation. I think there were things done that a lot of us that have been watching this for some time did not know. So Brian's in Israel, and so we wanted to bring him on to get his perspective. He's lived there for many years. Brian, please take a minute to summarize everything that's happened in the last 24 hours.
There's been a lot. We were all awakened in Israel at 3 o'clock this morning by sirens going off, and not only out in the open, but also every single phone in Israel was set off. An alarm was set off by Homeland Security here. It's a unique thing that Homeland Security is able to do, even if you don't have a Homeland Security app on your phone. So everybody received a warning that, and at first the thought was, well, what's going on here? We're getting another missile launched by the Houthis from Yemen at us. But no, we were being told that while an attack was not on its way, we all need to stay near a shelter because it's likely, it was thought at the time that was very likely Iran would quickly respond to what Israel was beginning in its attack against the nuclear program in the Islamic State of Iran. So I hurriedly got out of bed and made my way to a place where I can go into a shelter. And yeah, not much sleep today. Uh, the news that came out was that as it unfolded, we knew that Israel was striking in Iran. Oh, but I should also say that only a few hours before the sirens went off, reservists from all around Israel were called and immediately summoned to active duty. And so there was really a quick movement to get personnel in place on the home front here. Well, the word that came in rather quickly was that we had, first of all, assassinated a number of key leaders and nuclear scientists in Iran. And John, I'm sure you've seen the pictures. It's just remarkable the amount of intelligence Israel had to take out these individuals, because they didn't take down a whole building. There are pictures showing where they literally took out the specific apartment in which these people were living. And it's also remarkable. We're seeing video of Israeli personnel on the ground in Iran helping Israel to target specific sites. How they managed that is anybody's guess. It's just a remarkable feat, however, of intelligence and of personnel and of planning. Intelligence is just really, really something. Well, after the personnel were assassinated, key personnel to develop nuclear weapons and to give commands, after that happened, or basically about at the same time, missile launchers were taken out largely in western Iran, which has crippled its ability to launch missiles at Israel. After that, as you know, it went after nuclear facility in, is it Natanz? I think it's Natanz, and elsewhere. There are some very, very helpful graphics that the IDF has put out to show the operations it undertook today. The attacks are continuing. Only a few hours ago, the airport in Tabriz, which is in northwestern Iran, was destroyed. What Israel has not done, however, is it has not attacked the country's oil and gas facilities. It is thought that if Iran retaliates and doesn't back down, that this is another step that Israel can take to cripple, if not destroy, the economy in Iran. So the reality living here has been looking to the sky. Oh, another thing. We were told to stay near a shelter. And then, of course, Iran launched something like, 100 drones and apparently more. There were some missiles that were also launched that were intercepted over Syria. And since then, there have been some missiles intercepted over the Red Sea coming in from the south. Well, with 100, not missiles, 100 drones, 100 drones were on their way. And remarkably, every single one was intercepted. And I don't know how many hours ago, we all received a all clear sign. We didn't have to stay like within a few minutes of our shelters, and Israelis were able to go out and purchase food and things that they need for Shabbat, which begins here in about an hour and a half. So that's been.
Did I lose Brian?
I think you may have lost. Brian, you're back. You're back.
You there?
Carry on, please, sir.
Oh, well, anyway, so that's it's just been a long day. It's been I'm tired. Everybody here's tired. I'm going on about 4 hours of sleep, which is not optimal for me. It's not so I'm too old for that. But do what you have to do.
Okay, so look, a lot of things to unpack from what you just said. Essentially what Israel got was a huge decapitation strike as to the senior Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders. All the top people were taken out, and there's some other people that are reported to be in critical condition in hospitals. One that was in critical condition apparently has now died. And Brian, what do you know? I've heard that there was some deception involved in getting them to come to a particular location to attend a meeting and to stay at the meeting so that Israel could carry out the strike on at least a bunker where a lot of them were. What do you know about that?
I don't know about deception. I do know that a number of the key leaders were in a meeting, and that Israel knew where that meeting was and specifically struck that location, killing many of these leaders. How it happened and exactly what led them to be there and any deception involved is as yet pretty much unknown. What is really, really interesting is that this attack was truly a surprise. It caught everyone off guard, everyone here in Israel too, especially with the last couple of days, statements coming from President Trump indicating that, this isn't going to happen. He was asking Israel to wait. And now we know that all along this was intended to, quote unquote, put the Iranians to sleep. And it did.
Brian, is there any news out of the Iranian people, the incredible Persian people there, who there's no way that many people in Iran do not support the regime whatsoever? Is there any comments from them on the ground that's hit Israeli news?
I have heard secondhand. I've not yet seen it firsthand. There are several sources to check on this, but I have heard secondhand that the Iranian people are expressing a lot of dissatisfaction today, and understandably so, because the people themselves, the vast majority of Iranians, are not part of this Islamist regime, and they are being oppressed. All of the money in the country has been going to terror groups outside the country. It's all been going to attack Israel. It's all been going into the pockets of various imams. And the country itself has, John, you probably know better than I do, but it has rampant inflation. It's been terrible there. And so, people are not happy. The big question is, what will it take for a regime change, for a governmental change there? Somebody has to be in place, or a system or an organization, something has to be in place to step in and take over. And I have no idea how that might work. Hopefully something will come along and get these imams out of power.
I was doing a program with somebody yesterday. It might have been Olivier Melnick and Rob Schwartz, but one of the concerns I expressed was that if Israel did a massive strike and a revolution occurred in Iran, that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard might come to power, which I think might be actually worse than the Ayatollahs. But it just shows that I'm not creative enough to think through this, because they've now decapitated the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Yeah,
so and so look, if I thought that was a concern, obviously the Israeli intelligence and military thought that was a concern, and then they followed through and acted on it in just a stunning operation.
It really is. Yeah, this will be a one for the history books for sure. This will be studied and examined for a long, long time.
Yeah, one of my friends in Israel, Daniel Seaman, texted me earlier and said this will be talked about for generations. And my comment was, yeah, starting today.
Right.
And by the way, they're not done. Israel has indicated, Netanyahu in a statement last night said you could expect this to continue for a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
I saw some videos of what appeared to be Israeli air transport taking off from Iran, probably with people on the ground that have been that were helping in this attack.
Yes.
There was also a report, and I'm not trying to dominate the conversation. There was also a report that Israel had actually set up a drone manufacturing base within Iran that they use. Sounds very similar to what Ukraine did in the recent attacks in Russia on the nuclear bombers. Well, I would say the dual purpose bombers that they attacked and destroyed many of. What's your thinking? By the way, I'm getting all this stuff coming in, flying into me as we speak. My understanding is that even in China, there's some report from some of my security analysts that I get information from all the time that are tied in at high levels, that Xi Jinping is in a bit of trouble in China right now. And I'm wondering if it has anything to do with, there were reports yesterday that China had sent about 800 missiles to Iran to be used in response to any Israeli attack. I don't know what the status of that is. I don't know if they got there. I don't know if they were operational. And I'm wondering if that maybe has something to do with the timing of Israel's attack.
Well, the report I've seen here is not that China was sending missiles. It was sending chemical fuel, tons of chemical fuel, for Iran to manufacture up to 800 missiles that could be fired at Israel. And this report came out just a couple of days ago, and I am virtually certain it was a catalyst, one of several motivators for Israel to get on the ball. Of course, intelligence has been released today that Israel has acquired that Iran, in fact, was actively pursuing the construction of nuclear weapons, 12 or 15, you might know the number, but something like that. And we were out of time. Israel had to move ahead. Iran was stalling with the U.S., and while it was stalling in these talks, it was actively, aggressively pursuing the development of nuclear weapons so it could go nuclear anytime.
So I want to bring up this point. So yesterday or the day before, maybe it was yesterday, Netanyahu went to the Kotel, to the Western Wall, and prayed, and put a note in the wall, and somebody retrieved it, as they often do when well-known people go there and put something in the wall. And it said this, the nation rises like a young lion and lifts itself like a lion. And Brian, what's this operation named now?
It's Chavael, I think Chavael. It means a nation rising like a lion. And this is a quote from Numbers 23:24, in which Israel is expressed, said to be this very same way, rising like a lion, and would be shedding blood. It would be victorious. It was going to rise as a vicious aggressor. And so that's the name that was chosen for this.
Interesting. So there's something else I wanted to share. Let me see. I think I have a map here of where the targets were. Now I'm going to have to exit out. Here it is. So I want to ask you just a little bit about that, Brian, if I can, when I get the thing up here. Just a second. My producer's not here today.
Yeah, he is. I'm looking at him.
Yeah.
He's doing it all. So these are some of the attacks that they have done, and they've continued today. And it's interesting that they've sort of attacked sort of in the northwest part of the country, not down to the sort of towards that Bushehr nuclear plant down along the Persian Gulf. It's also interesting to note that they have not yet apparently attacked Fodor, which is like one of their main enrichment and centrifuge facilities. Some speculation is that they don't want to attack it because they want to preserve evidence that will be used later.
And it's something they can do later too if they need to. I think it's also something. It's also intriguing, at least to me, to keep in mind that Israel not only has air abilities, it has significant underwater sea abilities. It has nuclear submarines that I would guess are certainly down in the Persian Gulf and ready to fire as needed at those locations. So we don't just have bombers coming in. We have naval operations that are available to Israel as well, and almost certainly have to be in place.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I was just talking with someone the other day. I know, Mark, you and I think talked about it off air after we did a little program, that I viewed the attack onto the underground facilities to be very difficult because of the fact that you're going to have to bomb them continually in the same spot to break through into the storage facilities or actual operations centers. But now it looks like Israel's taken out most of the air defense systems that Iran had been rebuilding since the attacks last October. Do you know anything about that, Brian?
Well, this seems to have been the strategy because Israel knew there would be difficulty destroying these nuclear facilities that are buried so deep beneath mountains and rocks. So what they did is they took out the people who have the ability to authorize construction and actually do the construction. That's why they went after the nuclear scientists, the people that know how to do this, and against the military leadership that was responsible or had the authorization to move ahead with this. And so that was to me, a brilliant move. And clearly it was thought out way in advance. As I mentioned earlier, not only did they know where these people were meeting, but others of this that fall into this category, Israel knew exactly where they lived and where they were sleeping and hit their specific apartments, their places where they were living. There are photos of 3-4 story buildings, and only the top floor on one corner has been taken out, where someone lived. So Israel did not do indiscriminate, and never does, really doesn't do indiscriminate bombing where civilian lives are at risk. We've seen a lot of buildings flattened in Gaza, but in every case, there Israel's always warned civilians to get out of the way before it strikes, which is a dubious thing to do if you want to win, but it does help protect innocent lives. So in any case, Israel had this strategy. What it will do going forward is not certain. The word here is that Israel is actively recruiting, hoping that the U.S. will join in any future attacks. The U.S. has helped with Israel's defense. The interception of drones and missiles earlier today happened with not only Israeli forces, but also personnel and abilities and support from the U.S., even from Saudi Arabia and other countries. So there has been help on the defense. If we are going to actually destroy these underground nuclear facilities, however, it seems like it will be impossible to do without the big bunker buster bombs that only the U.S. can provide.
Absolutely. No, Brian, you're absolutely. That is that's what's needed, which is the provision of the mother of all bombs, etc., which they've been talking about. Do you think that? I mean, it is incredible when we've seen pictures of missiles just going into apartments 3 levels up or something like this. Do you think that, again, I know I'm sort of going along a particular theme. Do you think that also shows it does show how Israel has managed to get into Iran, but does it also show that maybe on the ground there is help from the Iranian people themselves that despise the regime? Because the concern is there may be Khomeini there, but I think his son is even worse. There are 1 or 2, even though I know they've taken leadership out, but there are 1 or 2, particularly his son, that are even worse. Do you think it shows that there is that help?
I think it's virtually certain that there is help on the ground from Iranians, and keep in mind, Iranians are made up of a number of different ethnicities. One of the significant minorities in Iran are Kurdish Iranians, and they are largely in the northwest, where Israel did a lot of its operations today, and the Kurds generally like Israel, and I am only guessing here, but it seems to me to be very likely that Israel's been working with the Kurds in Iraq, just across the border, and getting into Iran in Iran's northwest, and has been able to infiltrate that way. I'm guessing, but it seems to make sense. Yes, it's impossible for Israel to have obtained all the intelligence it did without the help of Iranians on the ground.
I think the other thing is, Brian, what is incredible, as you've said, don't worry, John, don't worry. Brian, I think what is incredible as well, as you've said, is how this has all been kept under wraps. How that has been incredible. Especially as we know in regard to what happened with the pager situation last year, when suddenly it's someone decides to allude to that in a press report. I'll just say that, and then people then understandably then feel that they have to act. It is incredible how they've managed to do that. As it's been inferred, Bibi Netanyahu, whatever people think of him politically, has been going on about Iran for many, many years. Do you think it's cometh the moment, cometh the man?
Well, he certainly has stepped up and finally done what's been needed to be done for a long time. The sense here is that Netanyahu has often been on the verge of attacking Iran. When I first came in 2012, it was at the end of the year, everyone thought that Israel was going to attack Iran and take out its nuclear development program then. And as I understand it, the U.S. administration basically talked him out of it. Netanyahu is kind of famous for kicking the can down the road and not resolving problems. And he has survived politically by doing this over many, many years now. I think he's the longest serving prime minister in Israel's history, but not without a lot of contention here in Israel. As you may know, the government almost was disbanded just a few days ago. We now know why it wasn't, because the argument surely must have been made to all of the members of the coalition that this attack was about to take place. But the big issue here, the big divisive issue, is that a key segment, a critical segment of Netanyahu's coalition has its constituents have not been serving in the IDF. They've been arguing. They've argued that, oh, we protect Israel by studying Torah. Well, this is absolutely maddening to the rest of Israel, which is sacrificing its sons and daughters, fathers and mothers, for the sake of Israel's very survival. So this is an ongoing situation that, once again, has been avoided because of this attack, but it's not going to go away. I'm not sure I answered your question. I kind of wanted.
No. I think you have. I mean, Brian, I had the privilege to be in Israel a few weeks ago, and to be in Jerusalem. And what struck me was the unity. I mean, yes, there are protests in regard to against Bibi Netanyahu, etc. But there is unity. What's the atmosphere right now in that regard? And I know it's a bit difficult because you've woken up to this. You didn't know this was going to happen.
Israelis are. It's an interesting thing. It's almost like, how can oil and water mix? And the oil and water here would be unity and contention. So they actually are both. And the fact that you have Israelis stepping up and supporting this is not at all surprising. From every sector, they're doing it. And in spite of the failures of the Israeli government and the military on 7 October 2023, it was individual Israelis who stepped up and provided supplies and food and helped people who were on the Gaza border in these various communities, help the soldiers, get them supplied. And so this is a country that deeply, deeply cares about each other. It is a unusual thing. It's not something that I have seen, certainly in the West, where it's a sense of family here.
Yes.
When an IDF young man, young woman is killed, there is grief across the line. With all of these people who were taken as hostages by Hamas on 7 October 2023, there is an ongoing, just heart-wrenching grief and sadness. And this has been the thing that's actually been pulling Israel on both sides. On the one hand, get the hostages out. On the other hand, defeating Hamas, because if we don't defeat Hamas, it will come back. It will come back and do 7 October again and again and again. It has to be destroyed. But how do we do that and get the hostages out has been the thing pulling Israel apart at the seams, at least in its heart, right? So there is unity in passion and in a family commitment as family, a bickering family, but family nonetheless, and a determination to no matter what, do what it takes to live. Israel is truly, the nation of l'chaim, to life. It is all about life, and it's dealing with enemies that glorify and are all about death. And this has been perhaps the hardest thing for even Israelis and the West to understand, that they don't care if they die. To them, death is victory.
So,
Brian, sorry, John,
go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Brian, what's the up-to-date view, say, from yesterday and a few days ago, of the policies of the UK government, the policies, or Mr. Carney, Mr. Macron coming out with all their nonsense, the Australian government. What's your view? What's the view over there within Israeli society?
The sense I get here is one of, this is happening everywhere. And it seems like every voice in the West, every leadership voice in the West is coming out, and they're not condemning Hamas for its atrocities. They're not condemning Iran for developing nuclear weapons, with stated, clear, repeated objectives, stated objectives to do nothing less than destroy. And they are committed to genocide of the Israeli people, and yet Israel is the one that's being accused of genocide, doing what it must do to defend itself. It's just a remarkable dynamic. This rising tide of global anti-Semitism is breathtaking. I don't know did you see the poll recently about how many nations the majority are against Israel, or they don't support Israel. They're not favorable toward Israel, I guess is the better way to put it. Even the U.S. Now has less than 50% who have a favorable view of Israel. So the narrative warfare that has been waged by Hamas and Iran and all of its various allies, especially in the UN and from Islamist countries, has been very, very, very effective. There is a sense, and you would perhaps be better able to speak to this than I, Mark, that a lot of what is going on in the UK is a result of an Islamist ideology coming into positions of leadership all throughout the country. So even though they are a minority in terms of population, they have become very, very influential in terms of policy and lawmaking and negotiations.
Well, it's the incredible people like Melanie Phillips, who you, of course, would be aware of, the great UK journalist. And Melanie, in her books like Londonistan, has pointed this out, and the stupidity of governments, the elites not paying attention to this. And I don't have to go through with you with the history of when we see the left moving with Islamism and the dangers of that. And what I would say to you, that there are many people in the UK that stand with Israel, as there are in Australia, as there are in Canada, as there are with America. And as much as those reports are extremely horrifying, we have to wonder what percentage really is that. We're looking at the politicians, as supposedly these leaders. And as you quite rightly raised, John and I have discussed this in America, where you're looking at the division even within the Republican Party from certain individuals and influences. I'm outraged by that. But no, it's important to say that many people are standing with you, and as I've said, that you are fighting. Israel is fighting on behalf of all of us. But unfortunately, so many of the leaders, you're right, politically, it's about getting votes, going to a supposed base. That is their viewpoint, which I think is profoundly wrong when we understand history. And that's the problem over here. People don't want to discuss history in the past and why we're at this point.
Right. True.
Hey guys, I'm going to need to terminate this because I forgot I was supposed to be on live with Alex Newman on another podcast. So we'll continue this.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe we could get some nominations for Silly People of the Day.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Tweets I've been seeing. So anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. I'll be doing an update Sunday. And Brian, thanks. Mark, thanks a lot. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Brian, take care.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.